historical definitions of words. Like those aren't current definitions that we use in modern day society. So like
you don't think anyone refers to a biblical woman in modern day society?
I'm sure they do, but
okay.
I'm pretty sure the biblical version of woman is tied to being female, though. Is it not?
Well, there's a biblical construction of women that have certain womanly characteristics, and for example, the biblical construction of gender included eunuchs and referred to them differentially.
Eunuchs are men, not women.
Yeah, they refer to them. So I'm talking equally with men and women, right? So like eunuchs cease to be men.
Eunuchs don't cease to be men. They're just castrated men. The word eunuch refers to a castrated.
That's not accurate sociologically.
Yes, it is.
They refer to them gendered differently.
Yeah, eunuchs. No, they don't. Eunuchs are
in the Bible. They use a different gender notation.
Can you stop the constant interrupting when we're trying to respond to your points? Right. So eunuchs are defined as men who have been castrated. That's what a eunuch is.
That's not how the Bible refers to them. They refer to them as a different gender. They use the same gender markings that differentiate a man and a woman.
Okay.
I have a question, Will. Sorry, I have a question. Why are you referring to the Bible? Do you think that I am Christian?
No, so I'm trying to give an example of a non-exclusive category.
Okay, so in the Bible, right, when they were referring to women, they were referring to females. Do you disagree with that?
Not really, no. So like not the same type of thing. So I would agree generally they were referring to females, but the concept of a biblical woman, right, includes both a biological aspect and then also idealistic characteristics.
No, the idealistic characteristics are associative, they're not determinative.
Yeah, but those are still associative characteristics are part of a definition.
No, they're not. No, I don't think you know what an associative characteristic is. So associative characteristics are particular qualities or traits that we would subsequently attribute or ascribe to a category, right? So I'll give you an example, right? For racial categories, there are particular things that we associate with the racial categories. Like say we associate family barbecues with black people, or we associate listening to rap music with black people. Those are associations made with the racial categories. Would it be suitable for us to define black people by those things?
Depends what your conception of race is. I think race is a social construct. So it might
So you think that it would be suitable to define black people by the music they listen to and their attendance in family barbecues?
No, because I think that's an incomplete and immature description of the stereotypes of black people.
Well, beautiful. That's the thing about associative characteristics, especially within the context of gender. Associative characteristics tend to be very stereotypical. So stereotypes would not serve to define women and men. So those idealistic traditional notions you're talking about are just feminine characteristics that women don't have to conform to. So they're not defined.
Yeah, I agree they don't have to conform to it, yeah.
Right, so then you can't use them to define them then. So they don't have to conform to them.
Can I try and do this? We have in societies, there is an image of an ideal woman. Do you agree?
Ideal woman, yes.
Okay. Is that ideal woman a social construction?
The understanding of an ideal woman is a social construct.
The understanding of an ideal woman is a social construction.
Right, because the idealization, I'm going to elaborate on the answer just to clarify so you don't misconstrue it. The idealization surrounding women is a social construct, not women themselves. That's where we're conflating the two.
Idealization.
So I may have so the idealization that we expect of women, or the things that we idealistically want women to do, and by women I mean adult human females, is socially constructed, but it doesn't define them. When you start to define them by those things, you end up in the realms of being very sexist and oppressive, and that's what you're doing right now.
Well, it depends in what way you're defining them, just to be clear.
Defining what?
So I'm not exclusively defining them as such, but I would agree, but also whether our language is sexist or problematic has nothing to do with whether it is that way. I think our language is sexist and problematic. Right?
Okay, well then if you want to...
We refer to, for example... Yeah, I think our language...
But the thing is, why are you upholding it then? That's the problem. I'm
trying to observe society and social constructions as they are.
Yeah, so I think that there's a difference between saying that I acknowledge that there are social constructs, that there are social beliefs that think women are defined by those things, but you can reject those things. In the same way I brought up race, if we had a racist definition of a black person, and you see in society that black people are defined that way, you can reject it, as you did when I gave the ridiculous definition previously. You can reject a definition You can reject a definition that is problematic. You did it for black people. Why can't you do it for women?
Well,
The same
I
thing
would
applies.
actually just, if you had given a more complete description of black people, I do think when we talk about race, the social construction of race is built on stereotypes. That's why I reject
No,
race.
it's not. The social construct of race is built upon phenotypes. I don't think you know anything about race.
But
It's
it's
not based on
not.
stereotypes. No, the black people are not defined by stereotypes in any society. Actually, actually you can't. The statement defined by stereotype is an oxymoron. Do you know what a stereotype is?
Sorry, a stereotype is an idealistic form of a certain
No,
way.
that's not what a stereotype is. So the way that the word stereotype is contemporarily used, it refers to a set of oversimplified generalizations often associated with a particular group of people or category. Do you know what it means to oversimplify something?
Yeah.
Yeah, what does it mean?
Like to ignore or under index certain complexities of a category.
Okay, or better put, it means to simplify something to such an extent that a distorted impression is given of the thing or things that you're referencing. So a stereotype would never serve to define a category because you're just giving an inaccurate impression of it. You wouldn't be defining it accurately. You're just giving a distorted impression of it. So the statement, the definition of race or the idea of race is defined by stereotypes. No, it's not. If it was a stereotype,
unless you
it
don't
wouldn't-
believe there is a fundamental difference.
No.
Which I just Edna, can I actually speak for a second here, because race historically has not been based on phenotypes. Just to be clear, when the Spanish, well, you complained about me interrupting. When the Spanish created what we understand to be the modern concept of race, it was not based on phenotypes. It was based off imagined family history. And it was explicitly, you could change races on the basis of social class in Spanish colonial times. It's just an inaccurate picture. Edna, can I ask you, do you believe that race is a social construction?
Sure.
Okay, I think we can agree race is a social construction, and I think it is a racist and bad social construction that is harmful. So to actually answer the point that you made, Edna, which was, well, if you agree that it's sexist, why are you upholding it? I'm not. But in order to undermine or attack systems of oppression, like I think gender is, I need to be able to recognize them as existent. So rejecting the reality, right, that in our current society or in the way we speak or how we understand this concept, we are engaged in a harmful, unhelpful way of understanding reality is the first step. And so just to be clear, I think we all agreed, final point, I think we all agreed that and there is an image of an idealized woman. And I think linguistically, right, we refer to that as a woman. When people say, you are being a woman, or you are being womanly, or Will, you're such a woman, right, they are defining woman literally in relation to me. You can say what they actually mean is, Will, you're being similar to the idealized woman.
No.
That's not what they're saying. So when people say things like you're acting like a woman, they're not using the word woman in a literal sense. They're using, do you know what a simile is? I feel like you're smart.
Well, that wasn't what I said. I said, Will, you are being a woman, for example.
Well, that's a stupid statement.
But plenty of people say it.
Yeah, well, plenty of people say stupid shit.
No, but that doesn't. But I'm trying to describe society as it is, not how.
Yeah,
it should
okay,
be.
and what we're trying to explain to you. So just to clarify, myself and the host, I believe, are gender critical. Our view is that we understand that there are very sexist notions surrounding women in society. We're trying to deconstruct them and not
Can you read
use
the
them when
prompt for me?
defining women and men. Yeah, it says woman is not a social construct, and that's what
Is that a moral
we're
statement?
So we're rejecting. No, we're rejecting the notion that the social constructs of femininity define women. That's what we're rejecting. You're upholding it in the sense that you're saying, well, it does exist. We're not saying it doesn't exist.
Wait, are you saying I'm
that it's
morally
not
upholding it?
Can you please stop?
Will you interrupt me?
What we're saying is that the social construct does not define women. It's what we're saying. So the social construct, we're making a distinction between feminine and woman. You're not. So you're upholding the sexism.
No,
right?
I'm not.
Yes, you
are.
No, I'm
saying that
sexism to undermine it.
You're not observing the sexism to undermine it, because then you would say a trans woman is a woman because they identify with those feminine traits. Am I correct?
I would say in the sense of
Say yes or no question, love.
in the sense that I'm describing, yes.
Okay, great. So you are upholding sexism. So you're saying that
No, I'm
persons
not.
who are you are. I'm going to explain. So you're
No.
saying persons who are men. Hold on. So you're saying that you acknowledge the sexism, but the men can be women if they take on those sexist stereotypes. How is that not upholding sexism? Explain.
Maybe they are upholding sexism, but I'm not.
You're
You're
invalidating in their. You're validating them in their
invalidating.
identity.
No, I'm just
Don't they
observing
take on
that
those?
they are adhering to a social
No, no,
construction.
you agree. No, no, you're
You
affirming
agree.
them as women via their participation in those
But that's
sexist
not a moral.
behaviors.
That's not a wait. Sorry, that's not a moralistic
I'm
observation.
not making anything moral. I'm just
Oh,
simply
is
stating that you're.
upholding a moralistic point?
Hold on 1 second. Upholding just means that you're in support of something. It doesn't
That's a moralistic
necessitate a
claim.
moral. No, it's not. I'm just simply stating that you're in support of something. Okay, I
Support
can
in
be
what
in
sense?
support of. Can you please stop? I can be in support of a sports team. That's not a moral statement. I just like the sports team, right? So I can uphold the fan club that supports the Yankees or whatever the people are called. I don't know what these sports teams are called nowadays, right? Doesn't mean that it's a moral thing. So when I say you're upholding sexism, it's not necessarily a moral statement. I'm just saying that's what you're doing. I think it would be better, more constructive for this conversation for you to acknowledge that you're doing that instead of gaslighting us into thinking that you're not. Because you are. You're saying that you acknowledge that there are sexist social constructs around women, but you can still use them to define them, and men can be women if they take on those things.
Okay, can I just...
Will, that's the nail on the head right there. You're gaslighting hard, man. Like it's literally what's going on. And it's fine. You can continue doing so.
I'm not gaslighting.
You are gaslighting.
That's inaccurate.
You are. You're using you're shifting your words. You're moving the goalposts, and you're in a way that you're trying to get around the idea that you are in support of the definition that you're giving. Like you don't want to say that you are. You're just saying
I do not support the definition I'm giving.
You don't adhere to
No,
the
I
definition
don't
that
support
you're
the
giving?
society that I'm observing.
No. Sorry. You don't adhere to the definition that you're giving?
What do you mean by adhere?
Agree.
I don't. In what sense? I agree that it is the definition in the language I speak.
It's not the question.
That's not the question I'm asking.
I don't know what that means. So, like, what I'm saying is, I see a society and I'm describing the society that exists.
You're disagreeing with our definition for a reason. What is that reason that you're disagreeing with our definition?
I'm disagreeing with your statement about the society that we live in.
No,
which is
that's not what I asked you.
I agree. Also, just to be clear, I agreed with one of your definitions.
Yeah, what was okay.
I just.
The question is,
Edna, can I speak for a second?
No. The thing is, you're talking a lot, but you're not making.
I'm not talking a lot. Both of y'all are talking much more.
We're trying to narrow down the questions that you understand because you're obfuscating and pivoting from the question. You keep dodging the question. You're being intentionally vague. The question is, do you adhere to the definition or agree with the definition that you gave us? Didn't ask you whether or not it's observed in society. Just answer the question.
What does it mean to agree to the definition?
Why are you doing that? Will, why are you being...
Because I described what I mean to agree.
You're being willfully obtuse, and no pun intended.
Okay, so I'll try and make this as clear as possible, because I'm genuinely not. Like, I hope you see, I'm genuinely a little frustrated. I'm trying to make this as clear as
I don't believe you, but fine. There's just no way. I think that you're intelligent enough to understand what we're talking about, and you are dodging the direct.
Do you want an answer to the question?
You are dodging the direct questions that we're asking you, and acting dumber than you are. That's what you're doing. But go ahead. Yeah.
So to adhere to a definition for me is to mean, when I say a word, I mean a certain thing. Okay. When we are talking about what a word means, when we are saying this is the definition of a word, what I mean is when the community of people that use this language mean this thing. It is not co-signing that is a pro-social or good thing to do. And it is not co-signing that I believe it. So in American English linguistic society, I believe woman is not exclusively used to refer to a biological concept.
Okay.
I do not think that is a necessarily good state of affairs.
And what we are saying is that when it is used in a context of cytobiology, it tends to conflate femininity with women and tends to enforce sexism and repressive stereotypes and norms. Hence, we are rejecting the social theory. That's what we're doing as gender critical people. So what we're saying is that we reject the notion that woman is a social construct, because when you use it to refer to anything outside of biology, you end up engaging in sexist notions, and you agreed with that. So what we're now saying is, right, if you agree or don't agree, if you don't agree, you agree the definition is not for the betterment of society because it's sexist, why would you then use it to affirm trans people? That's where I'm confused. So you agree that the definition is sexist, but you'll use it to affirm the identities of trans people.
So a few things. First of all, I agree gender is sexist. Like, I agree the social construction of a woman that we use in our language is bad. Okay?
The social construct isn't woman, though. The social construct is feminine. That's why you're missing the point again.
Okay, can I just ask a question? Do people in America refer to the social construct colloquially as woman?
Yes, keyword being colloquial, so it's not correct. It is a listen,
like,
hear the
there
answer.
just might be a different disagreement of like linguistic theory here.
The colloquial being the operative word there, so it's not an accurate or formal impression of the word. It's a colloquialism. In the same way that we use the word queen to refer to a friend or a person, a female that we find very a person. It doesn't mean that the word queen. It doesn't mean now that the word queen. Okay, go ahead.
But in an important way, queen does mean a friend or a person, because that's how it's used. In
a colloquial sense, yes, but it's not that we're talking about the literal meaning of the word, not the colloquialism. Because if we spent all our time talking about colloquialisms, we'd never get anywhere. So I think
I disagree, Edna. I'm talking about the language as it's used.
Again. No, but that's your observance of just that
you agreed with.
No. Yeah, I agree that people use it colloquially to reference. And I'm saying when they do, oh my God, I'm saying when they do, they are being sexist.
I would agree.
So we shouldn't use the definition.
We shouldn't use it.
We shouldn't use the definition.
Then argue against that, but that's not what you're arguing.
But that's what do you think I've been saying for the last
That's not the statement that you made.
That is what I said. I said
you're not saying it shouldn't be. You're saying it isn't.
I'm saying
you see the difference between those statements?
Oh my God. I'm saying that it isn't a good definition, right? Because it ends up enforcing sexism. So as a gender critical individual, I reject the notion. Therefore, I don't believe it's a social construct. Other people use it to reference a social construct. And I'm saying when they do, there are several issues with that. You're not listening to what we're saying.
There can be issues with the definition and, in fact, have that definition in society.
Okay, and I'm saying to you that the problem with this definition is that it involves major category errors, sexism, and ends up repressing.
That can be perfectly true. That doesn't mean the statement you have above your head is true.
It does mean, hold on, okay, all right, let me...
Okay, Edna, can I make a point longer than a sentence?
I was literally talking, but okay.
And so was I.
You asked me a question, so of course I was talking.
Okay, let me try and make this clearer. And I'll ask a very direct question. Can it be true that a definition is in a language and is sexist?
Yes.
Okay, so even if I agree with you that the definition of woman when used as a social construct is sexist, that doesn't mean that it is not in fact the definition.
It isn't a definition because it's a conflation. It's a
There's a better definition.
We're saying, no, it's not that, Brad. It's a conflation. So when the word woman is used to reference a social construct, it is used to reference femininity. That's why we're saying it's not a social construct, because the person is confusing femininity with women. So it's not. The statement remains that it is not a definition, because the definition is sexist because it conflates. The definition is, it's not a definition because it's a conflation. If it's a conflation, it defeats the whole purpose of the definition because you're confusing it with something else. That's what we're. I don't know. Is anybody else following what I'm saying?
No, but if most people use it to refer to that thing,
I disagree that the common usage of the word woman is in reference to social context. I disagree.
You disagree that there is a common usage of woman to refer to?
No, I said the common usage, not a common usage.
But there can be multiple common usages.
Please don't straw man what I said.
There can be multiple common usages.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I said the common usage. I'm talking about in general society. We don't use the word woman, in my experience with the people that I'm in and around in my general society, to refer to a social concept.
Then can I ask a different question? Is there a common usage of it to refer to a social concept?
Within particular subsects, yes. And that is a bad... And hold on. That is a stop. And those definitions are not really definitions of women. They are definitions of femininity. Hence, not a definition of the word woman. I'm saying to you that the word, under my view, when they use it that way, is being used incorrectly.
What's the measure for how a word is used correctly?
Well, under my view, it just means that it isn't in alignment with how I understand the word. That's how most people.
But how do you understand a word if not how it's used?
That's what me. I'm not committed to answering that question. That wasn't what I said. What I said is that when I say that a word is incorrect, and this is what most people mean when they say a word is incorrect, it isn't in accordance with how they understand the word. That's usually what people mean when they say a word is being used incorrectly, right? Right.
Okay, so my metric for a word being used correctly or incorrectly is whether, in the context, the concept they were attempting to communicate with the word was successfully communicated.
But it
with the
isn't
word.
successfully. That's the problem. It isn't when you use it in that way, because when you use the word woman to reference a social concept, you end up conveying ideas of femininity, not women.
But you have been successful in conveying the things you wanted to convey.
I explained this several times.
Edna, you've repeated yourself.
Okay,
can I try and make...
Can you... No,
you've interrupted me again.
I'm responding to what you said.
I didn't ask a question.
I already addressed this.
And you did
if
interrupt
your
me.
metric for the way that a person is using, if your metric for determining whether or not a person is using a word correctly or incorrectly is contingent upon whether or not they are able to communicate what they mean by it, I'm saying to you that it's not what they're doing. So the definition isn't being used correctly by your
okay. So Edna, so to be clear, what you're saying is that when someone wants to communicate that I have womanly characteristics, for example, to me, and says, "Will, you're being a woman," or "You are a woman," at that time, and I understand them to mean...
Womanly isn't really...
Hey, Edna, can you not interrupt me? If you're going to complain about being interrupted. Well, it's just frustrating. I haven't gotten more than a sentence out for the past 10 minutes. So as I was saying,
acting like it doesn't happen both ways. So
this is complicated. I think it's productive to allow a complicated response.
We'll just keep going. Just talk, man.
Okay, so if someone says, "Will, you're being a woman," or "Will, you're a woman," right, and I understand them to mean, well, "Will, you have womanly traits," for example, and they mean that, they have used the word correctly.
No, they're referring to feminine traits.
But so this is the issue, is I'm engaged in descriptive linguistics, right? I'm describing how they are using the word, right? And you agreed that people do in fact do this. So if we are engaged in descriptive linguistics, right, you have already conceded to the points that are necessary to engage in it. Now, if you want to say there is some fundamentally correct way to use words, right, or that using words immorally means you are using them improperly,
didn't say immorally,
we can have that discussion, but that is not what you committed yourself to. I didn't say that's a straw man. I did not say that. So that's what's an if is, Edna.
Can you listen? When a person tells
you,
when a person tells you you have womanly traits, describe it without referencing something feminine.
I agree that feminine can be used as well.
They're conflating. Great, so they're conflating femininity with woman. Bingo.
Or it's
so
also,
then you agree. So you hold on, Boogie Boo. Hold on, Bookie Bop. Then you agree then that there is a conflation. Therefore, feminine would be the social construct, not woman. That you missed to just run right into the point.
Do you know what synonyms are, Edna?
Synonyms? I know what synonyms are, but the
word
woman...
So you understand that two things can mean the same thing?
Yeah, but hold on. But the word woman wouldn't mean feminine, because if can women be masculine?
Women can perfectly well be masculine.
Great. So then feminine is not synonymous with woman. Bingo.
So in one sense it's not, and in a different sense it can be.
No,
great. So
words can
the
have
word
multiple
woman is not
senses and words can
synonymous.
have multiple definitions.
So the word
in
woman
contexts.
is not. So the word woman is not synonymous with feminine.
No, the word woman can be synonymous with femininity, and it can also not be.
Okay. Well. Okay. Sure. If you want to believe,
you've already conceded.
I disagree. It's not a there's no a concession is me taking back or saying agreeing with something that I didn't previously agree with. I'm not
necessarily.
You're not.
I mean,
that's what a concession is. No. Stop. Will, stop talking. I'm speaking. Me agreeing with something. The thing is, you go on and on and on. It has to.
And so do you.
At some point. So when we're talking about the word, right? I don't even remember the point that you said now, because it just threw me off. 1 second. Right. So when we're talking about the word, right, there is a conflation happening that you've admitted to. You're admitting that there's a conflation. So if there's a conflation, it's not a good definition then. So if you want to say sure that the word woman can be used synonymously with feminine, it physically can be, but it's not accurate. And you've admitted to that.
You haven't set out a good bar for accuracy.
Pardon? We did set the bar. We did. I already outlined.
Can you repeat the bar then, if we've set it out?
Yeah, but I already said this. This is a problem. You're not following the conversation.
I have. I mean, you're just lying. You haven't.
No, because if you did, you wouldn't be asking me right now to read.
Okay, then repeat it.
The bar for because you weren't listening. That's the point. So what I said was, if it isn't in accordance with the way that the person, if it for me, when I say a person.
No, you said we set it out. What bar for accuracy did we set out?
No, I didn't say that we did. I was talking about myself. Will, I can't be. If I said that we were talking about the both of us, that would be an equivocation fallacy. Obviously, I'm not going to say that.
Okay. Come on, then what is the bar for accuracy you have set out?
But I said this. Okay, I just want to clarify. Did chat not hear me say this 5 seconds ago? Because he's not listening. This is the issue with Will. He doesn't listen. I said this already.
So Edna, did you hear what I set out as an accurate?
Well, you're listening to respond.
You did. You said that if it is considered accurate if the person is able to coherently convey the concept that they are referring to.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to you, that when they do that, they're not. Because any person who said you have womanly characteristics and they meant feminine, and then you ask them if there are women who could be masculine, they would say yes. So then they aren't conveying the word woman in an accurate way under that standard, because they would agree that when they say the word womanly, they're not only talking about feminine traits, they could also be talking about masculine traits. What aren't
because
you understanding?
this is the issue here is, Edna, you're pointing out, you've already agreed that words can have multiple definitions, right?
Yes, well,
Okay, and those multiple definitions can have different characteristics, right?
in different contexts, yes.
Yes. Okay.
A word can't mean just
so
two different things in the same context.
I agree. I agree. So in the exact same context, in the exact same sense, a man cannot be a woman. I agree. But in a different context or in a different sense, me, a man, can be a woman in that I am engaged in womanly characteristics.
Okay, and by womanly you mean feminine characteristics.
That would be a synonym for what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay,
but here's
great.
the issue,
Okay.
Edna.
Sure.
Right,
so then,
can I ask a direct question?
We cannot. You just asked me a question.
No, I did not. I know, but can I ask a direct question?
You just asked the question that I'm answering.
Yeah, I know, but you answered it. Sorry. Yeah, that's
I
fair.
wasn't finished, but okay.
So, on my bar for accuracy, I've just so if we agree, womanly can conceptually be synonymous with feminine, and even if I just described it, here I go. By womanly I mean feminine. Have I successfully communicated what I mean by using
By your standard,
to reference
yes.
a social characteristic?
Under your view, yes. Under ours, no.
Okay, so can you tell me why my view is wrong about accuracy of words?
Well, it obviously wouldn't be wrong because it would be analytically true based upon the criteria that you set. But just to clarify, when we say that woman is not a social construct, we're not saying that people can't possibly use the word to reference a social construct. They can, but we're saying that it's not accurate from our perspective. That's what we're saying.
But you haven't given me a reason to believe your accuracy metric.
What you're doing is, can you please stop? What you're doing is you're coming up here and you wasted our time arguing for 30 minutes. Obviously, we know that a person can fit. Brad, do you disagree that there are people out there who can use the word woman to reference a social construct?
No.
Right. We never disagreed with that. So you came up and argued with us for 30 minutes.
You haven't given me a good reason to believe your
Now I
accuracy
understand.
metric.
1 second, Will. Now I understand why you've wasted our time. We never disagreed that that couldn't be the case. When we are saying woman is not a social construct, what we're saying is that we reject the other notions. Right? So like if I said race isn't a biological construct, and there were people out there who could use the word race to reference biology, it doesn't negate my statement. Under my view, it's not. So we're going to debate my view. You coming up and saying, well, there are people that can use the word black and white to refer to biology isn't a refutation of what we're saying. You're just pointing out that other people use the word.
Well, you've made a claim greater than that, Edna, though.
That's all that you're doing. So you kind of wasted our time here. You didn't really engage in substance. You just came
made
up
a
with,
claim greater than
all
what
you
you're
did was come
claiming
up.
right now.
Will, can
That's
you
not really
listen,
accurate.
please? All you did was come up and point out that
You're
other people
moving
can
the
use
goalpost now, Edna.
Jesus Christ
Let's
on
be
a
clear.
motorbike. Where has the goalpost shifted?
Because you made a claim about accuracy.
Yeah, and where did the goalpost shift from there?
You said that when I use womanly in a way that is synonymous with woman, it is inaccurate with feminine. Was I speaking? I'm so sorry.
No, I'm going to stop you because you missed the point again. It flew over your head like a frisbee. When I said it was inaccurate, whose perspective was I referring to? Mine or yours? Did I say it was inaccurate internally or externally?
You actually didn't clarify.
I literally did. I said from a gender critical I won't type gender critical.
Have you given me a reason to believe
from
your
a gender critical perspective, from me looking onto you, critiquing your position from an external perspective, it is inaccurate. That was the entire point. This is the thing, you don't listen. This was you wasted our
Edna,
time.
If your point is that
arguing
you could
about
say that,
stuff.
fine.
Will, I did say this.
Edna, if your point
I
is
said
that,
from the very. Oh my God! Can you stop interrupting? Because
you interrupted me, Edna.
You just asked me a question. You just asked a question.
She interrupted me. It's okay.
Not a she, but okay. You
Okay,
interrupted.
I don't know your gender. I'm so sorry.
You don't know what gender is. I mean, yeah. Anyways, so you asked a question. I said from the very beginning that from our perspective, it is inaccurate because what we see is a person conflating femininity with woman. If you are using the word differently, that's just going to be a difference in semantic opinion, and we can leave it there. But you're not disproving our statement that from an external perspective, it is inaccurate. That's you haven't proven the statement wrong. All you're doing is coming up and saying that other people can use the word to refer to a social construct.
Well,
we're not disagreeing with that. The whole point of the debate is to debate people who see the woman as a social construct. So you missed the whole point. You just came up here to argue. So I'm going to give you an analogy. I'm going to give you an analogy. I'm going to give you an analogy because you wasted our time.
Can I respond to this monologue?
No, it's a question, not a monologue. If I asked you,
is it a question? Then I respond.
It is a statement. Close your mouth, please, so I can answer. I can ask it.
This isn't a debate, but that's okay.
Bro, I have never seen anyone that likes hearing themselves talk as much as you.
Both of you have spoken exponentially more.
Will, the only reason you came up here, man, I'm convinced, was to just debate for the sake of debating.
You've said that. You have no horse. Spoke about 3 times as much.
Will, you have no horse in the race, dude. Like, you have agreed with us and said that I could be using these terms, but why? Like, you are literally debating for the sake of debating.
You've misunderstood my whole entire argument because you haven't heard it.
You haven't said anything.
We did hear the argument.
Because you've interrupted every single statement I've made.
We responded to your...
Extraordinarily bad faith.
All you did was... No, it's not.
So do you want a response or do you want to continue monologuing?
I'm going to give you an analogy and then you're going to answer the analogy. Right, because you did the same thing where you monologue for 2 minutes and then gave an example.
And you interrupted me, Edna.
So we're gonna no, I actually didn't.
You actually did interrupt me on every single point I made.
Stop talking. When I interrupted, you said I'd like.
This is one.
You said I'd like to finish. You said I'd like to finish.
Say your monologue if you want.
So now we're going to. I've said what I said. Now we're going to give an example to further prove the point that is consistently flying over your head because you're an idiot, right? If I was to argue that race is not a biological concept, and I said to you, these are my parameters for what I consider race to be, it's a social concept, and then you came up and said, well, there are other people who can use the word in society to refer to race as a biological concept. Would you be proving my statement wrong that race is not biological, or are you just pointing out that other people use the word differently?
So it depends the extent of it depends the extent of the claim you made. If you said, for example, it is incoherent. If you said, for example, it is incoherent to understand race as a biological concept, right? That would be a claim about the ability of it to be understood as a biological concept, and then someone pointing out the very possibility of referring to something as race that is a biological concept would disprove what you said. If all you are saying is the very, very weak claim that you can refer to a non-social construct as a woman, right? Or if you can refer to a non-biological construct as race, right? Then yeah, that would not undermine it. This is the issue though, is I came on here and the very first thing I said to both you and host was that I agree there is a proper understanding of woman as a biological concept. Did I not say that?
You did.
Repeat, sorry?
Sorry, okay, yeah, I did say that wrong. The very first thing I said was there is a proper understanding, a proper definition of woman as a purely biological concept. Did I say that?
You never use the word proper, no, but sure. If that's what you meant, then sure.
Sure. So from there, you and I thought we had a disagreement, right?
We did have a disagreement.
What was the disagreement following that statement? Because if your mere claim is that, let me just clarify this. If your mere claim is that I came on here, wasted all y'all's time, right? Because all I was doing was pointing out that there was a other way to talk about women, from the point at which I conceded that there was at least one valid usage of the term that just referred to biology, you should recognize, we don't disagree.
But that's exactly... Sorry, Brad.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Will, what definition do you agree with? What do you want to use as your?
He's just gonna say he agrees with the definition of society because he just thinks he's saying he's just observing society. Society is using it in this way.
You're just a fly on the wall. You have no opinion, right? That's what I'm saying. You have no horse in the race, dude. Like
so. Just argue to argue. So
you're just arguing to argue.
Your statement is about what.
Let me respond to what.
It's like the Truman Show, dude. You're outside.
I want to respond to what
you're engaged in descriptive sociology.
I'm gonna respond to what you're saying, Will. What I did was, I said that when we see the statement, woman is not a social construct, we're just saying that whenever it is used, right, on the gender critical perspective, we reject that notion. So to us, it is not a social construct, right? And all you did was come up and say, and that was not a weak claim. That's just establishing the parameters for what we believe.
Well, it's either a weak claim or a non-claim.
It's not a weak claim. There's a false dichotomy. It's not either a weak claim or a non-claim. It is a strong claim, and it is a claim that we could further delve into, which you refuse to do.
But are you making...
You see how when you were talking, I didn't interrupt, actually? Like, I let you finish.
Actually, both you and host did interrupt.
I didn't say anything when you were talking. You finished your statement, and then the host went to respond. And then the host finished, and I know I'm responding to you. So please stop. What you said simply was that you seem to think that we're saying that you seem to have thought that we were saying that the word woman cannot be used and isn't used to refer to a social construct. And that's not what we said. We said that we don't agree with that notion. So to us, it is not. To other people, it may be, and that's the point of the debate, to debate people who believe that. But it doesn't mean that the word woman isn't used to refer to a social construct. So, like I said, you ended up coming up here and wasting our time. Because all you did was come up and point out that the word woman can be used to refer to a social construct. You didn't prove, like, under our view, how it actually is a social construct. You just came up and said, well, there are people out there who do. And then admitted it was
surely the only requirement for it being a social construct is people referring to it as such.
No, that's Jesus Christ. No, under our view, no. What
makes something a social construct other than it being socially constructed as such?
That's a circular explanation of what a social construct is. But the point, Will, is that we're saying that there is a socially constructed notion. We're just saying we disagree with it. So to us, it is not a social. To us,
you disagree with it insofar as it exists, or insofar as it is good?
No, we disagree with what it refers. Jesus Christ, this guy's slow. We're not saying that it doesn't exist. We're saying we disagree with what it states, what it stipulates, the things that come along with it. Oh my God. We said that we understand that people use the word woman to refer to a social construct. We just don't agree with it. So to us, it is not. What the fuck?
So you agree?
That's it. No, Will.
I don't understand. He's not following.
That's it.
Oh, you're running. Okay. No. That's fine. If you can't track, that's okay. If you're going to interrupt me consistently and run, that's fine.
Well, settle down. You'll be all right.
If you're going to interrupt me the whole time and run, like, you can make that choice.
Well,
if you want to overtalk me the whole entire time, actively misconstrue me, and then dismiss me, that's your choice.
It's okay. I've been actually very.
But, I will never.
I've been very respectful.
Do you want a response?
I've been very respectful to you the entire time.
You haven't. You've interrupted every single statement I've made.
Bro, where have you been?
Between you or Edna, I have not
live have you been on? I've been sitting here letting you guys talk about it.
You interrupted the past 3 statements I made.
We have said the same thing to you 3 times in a row now.
Would you like a response to the things Edna just said?
Sure. If you can nip it and, like, move on, sure.
I mean, that's not how, like, they gave like a minute long, but that's okay. Very simply, Edna made a claim that it was inaccurate for me to use the term to refer to a social construct. They can deny that. They can narrow or move the goalpost.
Repeat what you said there.
Not true. Interrupted me again. Thank you.
No, I'm asking you to repeat.
Just to be clear,
I'm asking you to repeat.
That is not clear. You can say that it's so, and then you gave no reason for us to believe
what you said so I can hear you.
And then you gave us no reason for us to believe your measure for accuracy. That is the core of the argument.
We didn't hear what you said.
Interrupted again, running again. You said I could answer, and now you're interrupting.
Is this real life?
You're both interrupting me. What are we doing?
We want you to repeat. We didn't hear what you said.
We didn't hear what you said.
Okay.
Start over. We're letting you. Not only are we not interrupting, we're letting you talk again.
We're just asking you to repeat.
That's all. Don't take it so personal. Repeat what you said. We didn't hear you.
Okay. I'll say again.
I know.
I'll say again then. So, what I said was Edna made a claim that it was inaccurate for me to refer to woman as a social construct because it was conflationary, and then gave no justification for accuracy to be compelling.
Wrong.
So that is a more expansive claim than what they are claiming they claim now, which is merely that they rejected, woman in their own personal view as a social construct. Those are different claims, and it's dishonest to move the goalposts of that.
No, it was
what I was arguing positively was that not only as a matter of descriptive sociology is it accurate to refer to woman as a social construct because people successfully confer the concept using that word, right? But number 2, you've given me no reason to not believe that. So the point of, and further, you've been deeply unclear on what you mean, what it means to reject a definition. If you mean that it promotes bad things, you're engaged in prescriptive sociology, right? Which I just reject wholeheartedly. I don't think it's a helpful or necessary way to understand it. And it is beyond the claim you're making. A woman is not a social construct is very, very different than saying we should not understand or we should not promote the idea that woman is a social construct. That's very, very different in the claims. So I engaged in the statement that was made, a woman is not a social construct. I demonstrated you a case where a woman is a social construct, and now you've moved the goalpost such that it can be defended outside of that.
All right, so that was a load of yap. So for those who weren't following, that was Yapalations 4, verse 125. All right, so let me just clarify, because you didn't listen to anything. I actually did explicitly state from the very beginning that the reason we don't think it is a social construct is because as gender-critical individuals, we reject that theory. So to us, it is not a social construct. I stated that from the very beginning. To say that I didn't, you have a listening issue, please go speak to your ear doctor. Go speak to your audiologist. That has nothing to do with me. I did state that. The fact that you misheard and wasted your entire lifespan talking about something that you didn't listen to is not my issue. I did in fact state, and the chat can attest to it, that I did say that the reason we don't think it is a social construct is because of our view as gender critical individuals. I did say that, right?
I didn't deny you said that.
Additionally, I did say that. You just didn't hear
I didn't deny you said that.
No, you did. You said that I shifted the goalpost. So this is where the goalpost...
You did shift the goalpost.
I did not shift the goalpost. If the statement was consistently the entire time that I reject it, and I don't believe it is a social construct under my view. Therefore, to me, it's not a social construct. There is no goalpost shift because that was the statement the entire time. So you just said a while ago that I didn't say from the beginning that the reason that I think it's wrong was big, or the reason I consider it inaccurate is because it's conflationary under my view. You didn't. You said that I
conflationary is a logical.
You denied that I said that. You just said that I didn't say that when I did. You just admitted that I said it. So you're contradicting yourself. You just admitted that I said from the very beginning that the reason that it is conflationary or wrong, or the definition is not a good definition, or the reason it's not a social construct to us, under our view, is because it conflates femininity with women. You denied that I said that, but I did say that. All right.
I didn't deny that. That's not what I denied.
Is he listening to himself?
No.
People in
That's
chat,
not what I
did he or
denied,
did he
Edna.
not just say that I did?
I can clarify what I denied,
That
but
the
that's okay.
reason that it was wrong was because it was under my own view. You said that I didn't say that, and now you're agreeing that I did. So you're a liar.
I can clarify if you're interested.
You literally said that I didn't say it, and
That's not what I
now you're
denied.
admitting-
I can clarify
No,
if
you
you're
said
interested.
that. You said that I didn't say it, and then now you're admitting that I did. You're a liar.
Do you want a clarification?
No, you mean a rewrite of what you said? Sure.
No.
Not a clarification. You're just going to make up something else now because
Okay.
you did accuse me of not.
You can repeat it. It's not true.
You said that I didn't say that, so I'm going to clarify the statement for you again because you weren't listening. And this is the thing about speedy talker debaters: you think that you can, you didn't listen to anything I was saying, and then you started debating me on something that I wasn't saying. That's why I said it was a waste of time. When we say woman is not a social construct, we are not saying that other people can't use the word woman to refer to a social construct. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that we reject that notion. Therefore, under our view, from our perspective, it is not a social construct. From our perspective, it's not to say that other people can't use the word woman to refer to a social construct.
Yes.
The point of the debate is we're trying to find people who use the word to refer to a social construct and then explain the flaw, i.e. the sexism, the repressive gender roles, with the definition. Do you understand why you've wasted our time now?
I disagree. I've wasted our time.
Okay. Well. For in good faith, I think that yes, if what you just heard Nate say, if you understand that it was not a waste of time, if you reject everything that was just said and don't agree and don't see what was said, then I do think that it was a major waste of time.
I understand the point Edna just made.
Okay.
I disagree that
Which
that's
was
what's
the
happening.
point from the beginning. Which is the point from the
It
beginning.
was literally the point. The conversation.
I disagree that was the point from the beginning. That's okay.
Because you weren't listening.
I was
Because
listening. You changed the points
I
because
didn't.
that's not the claim you made. If you can allow me to respond very quickly, right? Like that's not actually what happened because if you are asserting from our worldview, right, it is not a social construct. I already got you to admit we have a social construct, idealized woman, right? And then I pointed to, and people refer to woman as that thing. right? That means woman is a social construct because it is referred to as such. And then you said, no, it isn't, because there is a harm from that sexism. Saying there is a harm from something and saying that it is not that way are two different claims. My point this whole time is that you have provided absolutely no warrant for connecting those two claims. I agree with you, it is sexist the way we use it in society. That does not mean it is not the way it is used. Do you understand that point?
Yeah, but we never disagreed that other people couldn't use it that way, and that was not my point. I didn't say that the reason the definition that it wasn't a social construct was because it was sexist, because we agreed that the social construct was sexist. So that's another lie. I said that the social construct was sexist. I just said I reject the notion, right? One, because it is sexist, and it also involves category errors and exclude certain women from the category and include certain men.
But that can be true.
Okay, great. So I gave you reasons why I reject it. Therefore, to me, under Edna Mode's view, it is not a social construct. So
and I demonstrated that Edna Mode's view is wrong.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. Therefore, I demonstrated my claim by saying, under my view, it is not. All you did was explain that other people in society outside of myself use it in that way. That's not explaining the problem with my view. You're just saying woman is a social construct because other people use it that way. I'm saying I understand that people use it that way, but I disagree. So to me, it's not.
You've given
what
no reason.
What did you get from that, Goofy?
You've given no reason. You've given no warrant for yours to be correct and mine to be wrong.
Wait, what?
You've given no reason for your rejection of the way it is used to be correct and for mine to be wrong.
Well, no,
you understand that?
No, I did from an external perspective. I said that when we're using the word, and I explained to you what the parameters were for when I say that the word is being used incorrectly. When I say that the word is being used incorrectly, it just isn't in accordance with what I understand the word to mean. Obviously, that's why we have semantic disagreements. When a person says that you're using the word incorrectly, it literally means you're not using the word in the way that I'm familiar with. Okay, so under my view, when a person says something like, "Oh, a woman, their womanly characteristics," and what they mean is feminine, under my view, there is a conflation. So to me, they're not talking about women anymore. They're talking about femininity. That's not me saying that you still can't use the word in that way. That's simply me saying that under my view, that's not how I see it. So it's what we call an
I get your view, Edna.
Listen to Bumbleclap. What we're talking about is the difference between an external and an internal critique. You're a law student, you should know the difference between those two things. So
I do.
Okay, great. So then what did I conduct? Did I conduct an external critique or an internal critique of the view that woman is a social construct?
So of my view?
You heard the question.
I didn't hear the ending the ending pronoun. Can you repeat it?
Did I conduct an external critique or an internal critique of the position that woman is a social construct? As far as my rejection is concerned.
You're engaged in an external critique because you're critiquing mine.
So then that's not me saying that there's something wrong with what you're saying from your view. That's saying that from my view, I see issues with it because of the way I understand it.
Yeah, okay.
So then you haven't, Jesus Christ, you haven't disproven that woman isn't a social construct under my view. You're just saying you and I have different views. So all you came up to do...
Edna, that's the point. And the way we do external critiques... The way we do external critiques is by comparing the reasons to practice or to accept those views.
No, that's not how you external critique. An external critique is using your own methodology or your own premises and then applying
No. The
that is what
of an external critique is to compare one person's view to another view to compare its validity against each other.
That's called analysis, not external critique, no.
An internal critique is the internal logical consistency of a view, right? And compare the other person explores of one view to another.
The other person explores. So
external critique is to say it does not cohere with other reasons to hold the view compared to other views which have better good
No,
reasons.
that's analysis, not no.
And
that's
you have an incorrect understanding of what an external critique is. That's not true.
No, that's
An internal critique is to take on the internal dynamics and premises of an argument and compare them against the conclusions, right? Whereas an external critique is to question the very premises or like outside standards or reasons to accept an argument. In the first place.
Okay, so right, so that's what I did. That's what I did.
Yes, but you gave me no reason.
I did, because I had external standards for what I consider the word woman to be.
Yes, you gave me no reason to accept those
So when a
external
person
standards.
uses the word woman interchangeably with feminine, under that external view, there's a rejection. We don't agree there.
Yeah, Edna, the point is you give me no reason to accept those external standards.
Therefore, to me, it is not a social construct. Will,
that's obvious.
Will, you are wasting my time and everybody else's time watching.
Edna.
All you did was come up in here and say that other people use the word woman to refer to a social construct. We didn't disagree.
Edna, you just misunderstood what an external critique is.
No, I didn't.
You need to give a good reason to accept
I did give a good reason. I said to you, yes, I did. Repeat what I said.
So from my understanding, right, you said my understanding of what is accurate to use a word as, right, it can be undermined if it conflates feminine and woman because it does not cohere to what I believe those words to mean.
Under whose view? Mine or yours? Great. So what's the issue?
Edna, I'm still answering.
Yeah. What's the issue with that?
Edna, the issue with that is that you've given me no reason to view that as a valid critique because
that is the reason.
No reason to adopt your position. The way you engage in external critiques.
Oh my God.
The way you engage in external critiques.
I did.
You didn't.
I did. I said, oh my God, I literally did. I said the reason, oh my God, this is like talking to a brick wall. I literally said to you that the reason is because you end up with everyone had category errors in Jagger. This nigga ain't listening to me. I literally said there are category errors where you end up excluding certain women from the category.
A category error would be an internal critique, just to be clear.
Yeah, no. Okay, I'm saying to you, no. A category error wouldn't be internal critique.
It would. I'm
saying to you, no. Can you stop interrupting? If you're using the word woman in a way that, per the person's own admission, it excludes certain women, there is a category error from both ends.
That would be an internal critique.
From both ends. From my view, it's a category error, and per the person's own admission, because it's a category error to me because of sex. For the other person, it's a category error because of gender expression, i.e., masculine and feminine.
Well, Edna,
so it's great. So then we agree. It's a category error from both ends, not just.
No, we don't agree. But
it would be a category error. No, it would be a category error from both perspectives, not from one. It would be a category error.
Can I clarify?
Because the reason.
Okay. So Edna, just to be clear, if you're accusing it of being a category error, that would necessarily be an internal critique because a category, it could also be an external critique. But the important part about a category, that's fine. That's fine. But that means you weren't.
So we agree.
1 second, Edna.
So we agree that it can both be. So we can agree that it would both be.
Edna, can I respond?
You interrupted me, so no.
I was actually sorry. Just to be clear,
so we agree.
Edna,
we agree that it can be both.
So you were making an internal critique.
And an internal. Oh my God! I'm saying it can be both. The statement.
So was it an internal critique as well?
Can you stop?
So you did make. Okay.
No, I said the statement can apply, not that it does apply to both. It can.
No, it must. If there is a category error, it must.
No, it's a category error from my perspective because, in terms of sex, it would be a category error because there are males who can take on those particular feminine attributes.
But it's only a good reason if it's an internal. So, like, the fact that it doesn't cohere to your understanding of categories isn't itself a good reason unless you give me a good reason to accept your categories. Which you haven't.
Explained.
That's presupposing that you give me a good reason to accept the categories.
We can do that from the internal perspective as well. So from the internal
Are you making an internal critique?
So from that internal.
So you were making an.
No, I wasn't originally, but now that you pointed it out, it can also be done via.
So now you are.
No, I just said that. So if we agree then that it can also be done from an internal perspective, what we're simply pointing out is that the reason that is a problem is because per the person's own admittance, there are women out there who do not conform to feminine traits. So when they say the word womanly and they mean feminine, clearly that's not the way that they mean the word. Or they're using the word
Edna, so now you're engaged.
Can you stop talking? They're using the word.
I thought you asked a question.
I made a statement. So they're using the word woman in a way that is inconsistent with their own understanding, right? So that's what I'm saying. I did explain this before.
So you were, just to clarify, before you were, just yes or no?
I was explaining.
Were you making internal or external critique?
I was explaining where an internal critique could take place. But the main
do you assert an internal critique?
The main point regarding whether or not it is considered a social construct is based upon our perspective. So when we say woman isn't a social construct, we're referring to our view. We're saying that to us, right? It is not a social construct because of the aforementioned issues, right? Now, this doesn't mean that other people can't use the word to refer to a social construct. That's not in denial here. What we're simply stating is that when it is used in that way, we reject it, okay? And we gave the reasons why we rejected it.
Let me know, because Edna, I get that. The issue here is that's not actually what happened entirely, because you did assert that it was a category error, right? And I think you're recognizing here that when you say it is a category error, at the very least, presumably, it is an internal critique. And I think you're noting that what you actually have done is engaged in an internal critique, and you said that it was inaccurate. If you're saying all you ever meant was that to your view, that you have yet to warrant, by the way, you have yet to warrant.
I did warrant.
Why?
I did.
1 second.
I did.
You have yet to warrant.
I did.
Why
you keep saying
sex
that,
and
but
gender should be separate categories in the sense that you did. You have yet to warrant that on an external, on any premises that you've asked me to accept, right? So either you made an internal critique and you're now moving the goalpost, which I think is actually what happened.
That's not
maybe
what
not.
happened.
Maybe not. If you only ever made an external critique, what we're recognizing here is that you never warranted the category error that you asserted from an external critique. You never warranted why I should accept your categories over the categories that I asserted. All you asserted, I'm still speaking, Edna.
No, I don't care. I did not. I'm going to stop.
I'm still speaking.
No,
I'm still
going
speaking.
to stop you because you're lying.
What are we doing? You spoke for longer than me.
No, you're lying.
What are you doing? Well, you're lying as well. I think everything you're saying is not true. But that obviously isn't how a discussion works. What I was saying was either you engaged in internal critique, which is actually what I think happened, but whatever, or you engage in external critique and have not even attempted to warrant why I should accept your categories over another. You're stating the obvious, Edna, which is we have different perspectives, and therefore our perspectives do not cohere. That's stupidly obvious. The whole entire point of a debate is either to engage in internal critique, right, take mine and internally critique it, or externally critique it and give me reasons to accept your perspective over mine by demonstrating the ways in which they don't cohere and one coheres to reality better. You've completely failed to do either, right? Because you haven't actually accepted one or the other. So if you're just making an external critique, give me a reason to accept your categories.
I already explained this. I explained that part of the reason was that the intention is not to support sexism. There are category errors involved, okay? So when a person uses the word woman to refer to, what's it called?
Just clarity, internal or external critique right now.
This would be internal, firstly, and then I'll get.
You've said you've already made this argument, and it's an internal critique.
I gave examples of what I could do when it came to the argument. So we have both for both the external and the internal. So I'll give you for the internal and the external since you're a little bit confused about them. For the
you never made an internal argument, apparently.
No, I didn't make the internal argument.
So can you repeat the argument you've already made that I apparently missed?
Okay, so the argument that from an external perspective, when a person uses the word woman to refer to feminine traits, right? From an external perspective, the category error would be that there would be males, under our view, that could be feminine, right? There were men, who could be feminine.
And what's the warrant for this being a good reason to accept the critique?
He's not requesting us.
What was that, sorry? What was your question?
I asked what the warrant was for this being a good reason. What was the warrant you provided for this to be a compelling reason and a compelling critique?
Right,
the fact that it doesn't cohere is not a warrant.
Yeah, no, that's not what I said. The reason is that it involves, the definition includes men. So if the definition of the word woman includes man, that's a category error. You can't have women, you can't have men in the definition of the word woman. They're not women.
You perfectly well can.
No, you can't. You can have women in the same, you can define women in a way that includes men. Mm-hmm. Then you're an idiot.
Yeah, well, come on.
Why would men be included in the definition of the word woman?
As I said, so if by woman, for example, I mean people that act womanly, as people colloquially use, which you agreed they do colloquially use, men obviously are included in that description. Is the example I've been arguing this whole time. When people refer to me, hey, Will, you're being a woman, right? That is an accurate and sociologically used word. Obviously.
And I'm saying to you that when they use
You've demonstrated no category error.
Yes, I have. If the person were to use it in that perspective, from an external perspective, right, if men are included, then it wouldn't really be womanly, would it? Because if you're referring to a woman, if you're referring to
sure, you can make up any external perspective.
Well, that's what I said. But that's what I said.
Yeah, this is the issue, Edna. You give me no reason to accept it.
I explained why.
No, because you're just repeating that it doesn't cohere with what I've said. That's obvious.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm saying with the internal
that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the definition has a category error, where men are included in the definition of the word woman.
That's not a category error.
Yes, it is. If men are included in the definition of the word woman.
Is it an internal category error?
I said external, goofy.
Okay. Anything can be an external category error. Right. Okay. I could say that including like will in the category of man is an external category error, because by your external definition you don't include me as a man.
You would need to define,
arbitrary.
But you would have to
define me a reason to accept your categories. This is my whole entire point.
So
external perspectives with warrants for this.
Okay, hold on. I already explained. No, I already explained the external. But if we wanted to do, let's go
repeat the warrant then. Repeat the warrant.
I already did, and I'm not going to repeat it again.
Because you never made it. You never made an external warrant.
I did. You just keep rejecting it.
Right, so you can repeat it. You never made an external warrant. That's not true.
I did. So anyway,
as far as
the internal critique is concerned,
you want to make a different argument.
If the person, yes, we can talk about the internal. So when the person uses the word womanly in that sense, all we would simply ask is, what are they talking about? They would say feminine traits. And we would ask, can men be feminine? They would obviously say yes. So then the word womanly there is being used inconsistently with what a woman is in that context. Because if their definition of the word woman includes men, then there's not really a definition of the word woman.
That's not an internal critique. You've just repeated that. You've repeated your arbitrary category.
No, I didn't. No, I'm saying if I were to ask the person under their view, when they say the word... If I were to ask the person under their view, when they say the word womanly, do they mean feminine traits? And they said yes, right? And then I would ask, can men be feminine, right? Then they said yes. Then there's an inconsistency there.
No, there's not. Men can be womanly.
No, men can't. No, woman is the word, not womanly. Woman.
Yeah, in the sense that you're womanly, you're a woman.
Okay, great. So then if woman means womanly, then men cannot be women.
Well, woman means a person.
If women means feminine, right? And we're asking, and the question is
kind of all.
The question that we're asking to the person is, can you define women in a way that distinguishes them from men? That's the question that's being asked. And if the person says a woman is a person who is womanly, and then they say by womanly we mean feminine, and we ask if men can be feminine, then that wouldn't be a distinction between the categories. That was
just to be clear, this is accepting that there can be multiple definitions and non-exclusive definitions. So for example, you can accept that there is a distinctive and entirely exclusive definition that is biological, right, which is not entirely accurate. But you can also say that there is an inclusive but distinctive definition of men being women. So there can be biological, for example, Edna, as I'm speaking right now, there can be a definition of a man, for example, if we mean a biological man, who is acting womanly and is thus sociologically a woman in the sense that we're talking. Once again, by the way, just for everyone in the audience, we're massively oversimplifying the sociological definition of a woman just because we've accepted that there's an idealistic woman. I'm still speaking at that. So
you're gish galloping. Well, you're making multiple. You can't gish gallop. You're jumping.
I'm not gish galloping. I've made one point. That's not gish galloping. Also, gish galloping.
You're making multiple points at the same time, and nobody's being allowed to address them. You can't move from one point to the next. You're going to have to.
Edna, gish galloping isn't staying on one point. Gish galloping is moving too quickly from one point to another.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing right now.
No, I'm making one point.
No, you're not.
I'm making a single point, which is that your internal category error is nonsense. It's wrong for a very simple reason. Because it misunderstands that there can, number one, be multiple definitions. Number two, definitions don't have to be exclusive. They're apparent opposite. That's not true.
No, we didn't say that there couldn't be multiple definitions. I
also obviously not gish galloping. What were the multiple points I made,
previously that words can have different definitions in different contexts. This was already previously acknowledged.
You're ignoring it by suggesting it's a category error.
What I'm saying is no. What I'm saying is that under the person's view, there's a problem. Because if you're saying, if the question is,
define women in a way that distinguishes them from men, and then you say woman means feminine, and then there are men that are feminine, that's not satisfying the question, because
It distinguishes them from men in the sense that they're masculine.
No, it doesn't no, because if men can be feminine, then woman is not defined by
But it's a crossing of senses.
No, we're asking for the word woman and man in the same context. We're not asking
but
for
in a different sense. In the same context, but in a different sense.
Explain.
Okay, so a man in a biological sense, right? Woman in a biological sense.
We're not talking
man
about
in a sociological sense, woman in a sociological sense.
But that's not the question. But that's not the question.
But Edna, you're arbitrary. 1 second.
But that's not the question. This is the problem. You're misunderstanding the question. The question is, in the social context specifically that we're talking about, can you define women in a way that distinguishes them from men? Now, if the person says woman is defined sociologically as a person that's feminine, and then we ask you, can men be feminine? And then you say yes, then clearly that's not satisfying the question. Because if you agree that, can you stop talking? I'm speaking.
You interrupted
me, Edna.
Yeah,
sorry, no. So if you agree that both women and men can be feminine, and that would be a commonality between women and men, not a distinction. So the question isn't being satisfied. The question is, can you define woman in a sociological context in a way that distinguishes them from men? Either the person can say, I don't have a distinction, or provide one. Saying that woman means feminine is not a distinction per their own view, because all we would need to ask it again is whether or not they believe men can be feminine. If men can be feminine, then that's not the distinction.
Okay, so a few things. You didn't clarify singularly in a social context, just to be clear.
I did.
Okay, so if you want to clarify now, that's fine. So
no, but we did. We were talking about women.
Edna, I'm still speaking. You just can't interrupt me every time I'm speaking before I make a point and then complain about.
No, it's actually it's straight up gaslighting.
You just lie. You just start lying.
Okay, I mean, I think everything you're saying is lying, and yet I don't interrupt.
Okay, people in chat, did I not specify that we were talking about women in a social context from the very beginning? Because I
not
did
in an exclusively social context.
Yes,
no,
I did.
Because that's not the internal. Because you're internally.
Why are you
critiquing
lying?
Me.
Why are you lying?
Edna, you're internally critiquing me.
I literally specified from the very beginning that we were talking about sociology.
No, you only specified it now in this last example.
No, we were talking about.
That's not true.
Context. The end. Oh my God! Why am I being gaslit?
I only heard it this time. Just
you are okay. Well, then,
but
just because you didn't hear it doesn't mean I didn't say there are 400.
Well, I'm living in the reality I hear. But Edna, that's fine. It doesn't actually matter.
You're literally just gaslighting me. This is why the lying is just making this very frustrating to have a conversation.
Okay, and I think you're lying about a shit ton of stuff because once again,
well, you haven't
denied that you were making an internal
lied.
critique, and now you're actually making an internal critique.
No,
anyway.
I said no. I didn't.
Okay, can I respond to the point you made? Okay, as I was saying. So even in a social case, right, people that, it depends on the sense you mean. So I agree that if we're defining woman socially and saying a woman is a person who exclusively engages in feminine traits or is engaging in the feminine traits, right, then yeah, a person cannot simultaneously engage in the feminine and masculine traits exclusively, right? And so if that's what we're defining it as, right, I would agree. A man can't be a woman. But if what I thought was happening, just to be clear, I thought we were talking in two different senses. A biological man can be a woman, and a sociological woman can be a biological man, etc. But even if we expand like what a social definition here is, right? And go, in a sense, I'm a man because I'm still displaying the social characteristics of like muscularity or of like a deep voice-ish. In that sense, I am a man. And in another sense, right, where I'm like being feminine or I'm like growing longer hair, right, I'm womanly. It is not exclusionary to say I can be both a man and a woman. I can be a man and being a woman.
Masculine.
Like, this is not an
that's not the
critique.
question. But that's
no,
not the question.
I agree. I'm going to repeat. I'm going to address the
but that's not the. Hold on. You stopped. Hold on. You stopped. You stopped.
No, I didn't stop. You interrupted me, Edna. Let me. I just have a second more.
You're literally not answering the question.
No, I understand that you interpreted this. I've tried to demonstrate how you can construct a coherent definition of man and woman that are exclusive definitions, right? A person who is engaging, one person can be both of them, but the concepts, in the sense that they are that person, are exclusive. In the same way that I have blue eyes and brown hair. 1 second, Edna. In the same way that I have blue eyes and brown hair, having blue eyes and having brown hair are distinctive concepts, but I embody both of them. Do you understand that, Edna?
No, because the question is which one makes the person a man and what distinguishes them from woman. So no, that doesn't answer the question.
Well, that's presupposing a man can't be a person can be both.
That's not presupposing it. We're asking you to tell us what you know. We're asking you to tell us what you mean when you say the word. So listen.
What I mean is that they are embodying these characteristics and these characteristics.
Okay. What are the characteristics that women embody that define them in a sociological context that distinguishes them from men?
Well, that's, once again, assuming all women are distinguishable from men, which I don't agree with. I think there are cases where men, right, the same person is both a man and a woman in a sociological sense.
Okay, then
in the sense that they are embodying both masculine and feminine traits.
Then there's a disagreement then, so we're not going to agree. So I don't have an internal critique for that because it's very...
Okay, great. I've survived the internal critique. Thank you.
It's very... You survived being vague and not elaborating.
No, I've demonstrated to you a social definition of a woman that survives an internal critique. You have no internal critique of me. You only have an external critique that you have failed to warrant.
Because you're not making any sense.
I've made perfect sense. What did I say that didn't make sense?
Okay. You're saying that women and men, persons can be both men and women at the same time in a social context. Is that the statement?
Yeah, because they can embody both feminine and masculine characteristics, and it's accurate to refer to someone embodying those characteristics as a man or a woman.
Okay, so persons can be both men and women at the same time.
Yeah, in the same way that I can be both blonde and brunette at the same time. Absolutely.
You can be both blonde and brunette at the same time.
Yeah, I could do like half my hair here,
Okay, sure. All right. Well, then I guess we just don't agree then. That's fine.
Exactly. So you have no internal critique. Your supposed external critique has absolutely no warrant. I agree that we've wasted our time here, Edna.
You wasted our time because all you pointed out.
No, you attempted a critique and you failed.
All you pointed out is that you use the word differently. That's why it's a waste of time. That's why it's a waste of time. That's why it's a waste of time. 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 It's a waste of time because you just pointed out that you use the word differently than I do.
And you've pointed to no reason.
But the statement that woman,
you're making a comment about.
I think you just walked into an absurdity. I think it's absurd to say that persons can be both men and women at the same time.
I think I've demonstrated to you that people do use it that way.
Yeah, okay, and I'm saying that's an absurd usage of the word.
How is it absurd if that's how it's actually used?
It is.
This is the issue. You've made an external critique. You've not told me why the usage of a word is absurd. This is the issue with prescriptive linguistics.
It's not prescriptive. Saying that something is absurd.
Saying that saying that something actually used is absurd is prescriptive.
Saying that something is absurd is a descriptive claim, not a prescriptive claim.
Absurdity is a morally loaded, or at the very least, normatively loaded claim. Absolutely.
That's not what absurd means.
Absurd? Absurd is a normatively loaded claim.
No, it just means that it's unreasonable descriptively.
Yeah, unreasonability is a normative claim.
That's not prescriptive. It's descriptive.
No, unreasonability is a prescriptive claim. Yes, it is. The whole point of description is to observe it as it is, not to observe it as unreasonable.
Observe. Yeah. So if I say to you that something is unreasonable, I'm describing it as reasonable. That would be a descriptive.
No, that's a normative judgment.
Okay. You're just going to keep saying the same thing over and over.
Yeah, sorry. Saying something's absurd is a normative judgment, and you meant it as a normative judgment because you referred to me dismissively as absurd.
It is.
Yeah, but you meant it as a normative judgment. You said you're being absurd. That was pejorative, obviously.
That's descriptive. I'm describing.
You meant it pejoratively. Right? Did you not mean me being absurd as a pejorative to my argument?
What do you mean by pejorative?
As degrading, as dismissive?
No.
Okay, why did you say it was absurd?
I'm just saying that it sounds very unreasonable. Not to.
What makes it unreasonable?
Pardon?
What makes it unreasonable?
Because the reason it sounds unreasonable is because I thought the whole point of being trans, at least in terms of the binary sense, is that you're supposed to be one or the other. The point is that either trans women are women or they're men, not that they're men as well as women.
That's not what queer says. That's not what queer theory says at all.
Well, it is because in queer theory.
What queer theorist says that?
Can you stop talking?
Who are you referencing?
Can you stop talking? In queer theory, often when we talk about binary trans people, they're talking about people who are on one set or the other of the gender categories. So trans women will be women and trans men will be men. Not that there are persons who are both men and women. Under the binary system that what people talk about when it comes to gender theory, right? They're not talking about those things.
Almost every queer person I know rejects the gender binary as a useful sociological concept.
No, I'm talking about binary trans people. So no, when people talk about binary trans people, they are talking about persons who are trans women and men who are either men or women.
They are men. They are certainly men or women in a sense. Yeah,
those are people who are often. Those are
in the sense that they identify.
Those
and
are people. Sorry, I'm still talking. Sorry, I'm talking. Those are people who are often considered trans medicalists, for example. The trans medicalists who believe in gender theory often believe that there's a binary trans people. If you don't believe that, then sure. But
yeah, I'm not a trans medicalist, but also once again, we're getting into normative.
The reason here,
Edna, one second. Can I respond to that?
No, you can't, because I'm not done.
Okay.
The reason that I said it was absurd is because most people that I've spoken to, right, who support the trans movement, is that there are persons who are women and men who are either trans women or trans men or cis women. Right? Not persons who can be both at the same time. So it sounds absurd because it's not what I'm used to, okay? But if you want to believe that, that's fine. I don't have an internal critique for that position.
You also don't have a warranted external critique for that position, right?
I just gave it, but okay.
Well, if it is, then it's a normative claim. But just to respond to the direct claim, once you start talking about transmedicalism, right, or it being absurd, we move into the area of normativity, right? Transmedicalism, for example, is a normative position regarding the validity and acceptability of certain trans people within society, right? And that is a totally different discussion.
So you think that trans women can be men and women?
Yeah, everyone, in my view, is both men and women in our society.
We just don't agree then.
I mean, you haven't disproven any of the premises I
didn't say that I didn't say that I could disprove it. That's fine.
Made no argument.
Sure.
You attempted to make an internal critique and you failed.
Well, you think that individuals can be men and women. We're not going to agree. It's been going on for an hour.
You have no critique of anything I've said. You can roll your eyes. You can say it's absurd.
You're just okay. We're just saying
argument for it. I've demonstrated to you in the
argument. We're saying that the argument it sounds absurd. That's all.
Yeah, that's not an argument. That's an expression of annoyance.
No, I explained. So
you explained that you're unused to it.
Hold on. So I have a question. What is the point of being trans then?
The point of being trans, right, is to engage in society in a way that is affirming and productive to you.
That's not okay. This is a very upset evidence of being trans.
What's the point of me being named Will?
It's idiosyncratic.
What's the point of using my name?
Will, it's okay. You're gonna need.
Well, you have no argument. This is
I'm not saying that I do. I'm just saying these definitions seem very idiosyncratic. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I oh my God. It's not a concession. We just don't agree. Agreeing to disagree is not a concession.
What you're saying.
Agreeing to disagree. Agreeing to disagree.
Calm down.
Agreeing to disagree on the matter is not a matter of concession.
I've warranted my premises. You haven't.
You didn't give an internal critique of my view. No, you didn't.
No, I warranted. No. So just to be clear, I did. I said it was unwarranted because you provided no warranty.
No, an internal critique.
That is that's I guess both. An unwarranted premise is both an internal and external issue, but I guess it's more so an external, and so I'm comparing it to mine, which is a warranted premise.
Okay.
It is if my premise is true, yours is false. If it is true that you can validly and productively understand woman in the context of a social construct, it is not true that you can't. So I've warranted my premise. You haven't.
We're not saying. But we didn't say that. But we didn't say that you can't. We didn't say that.
You said it does not.
Yeah,
that is we said that
no. We said that under our view, it isn't the case.
So you
under
need to warrant that. That's an exclusionary claim.
No. But I already explained from an external perspective why it can't be used in that way.
But that you haven't warranted at why that's true.
That is the warrant. I explained it.
The fact that it's externally different.
You're going in circles now. I explained this.
No, you haven't provided any warrant for that claim.
I have. You just keep saying that I haven't when I did.
No, you have. So the fact that it's externally coherent with what you've seen it used as, is that the warrant?
Pardon me, sorry?
What's the warrant for yours? That it's externally coherent with what you've seen it used as?
So what we're saying is that when we use the word, we're not referring to it in that way. When we see other people commonly use the word to refer to a social construct, they're referring to something where there are some sort of set of internal inconsistencies. So when they say woman, they're referring to femininity. But then when we ask if men can be feminine, then they agree that men could also be feminine. So
other people being wrong doesn't make you right.
A definition. It really isn't. Sorry, I'm talking. It isn't really a definition of the word woman, unless you think that persons can be both men and women at the same time, which you said that you have. And I'm saying I don't have a critique.
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on. So the thing is,
that's not a warrant. That's just a rejection of the alternative. It's not a rejection of the alternative. It's a misunderstanding of what.
I'm talking about
other people provided a bad argument. What a silly way to argue.
Okay, so I'm saying for yours, I don't have an internal critique.
Yeah, but you also don't have a justification for your argument, so that's fine.
Yes, I do.
But I have a justified, warranted argument. You don't. You don't have a critique of mine.
But I just gave it to you.
No.
What's the warrant?
Correct me if I'm wrong.
What's the warrant? Wait, hold on. Stop. What's the warrant for your statement that persons can be both men and women at the same time?
In that is how it's used sociologically.
So
it is accurate to understand.
Hold on. So that is how it is used sociologically. Therefore, persons can be both men and women.
Yeah, so if we want to understand words, we look at how they are used, because that is the most helpful way to understand them.
Okay, how do people use the word women and men in sociology?
They use a wide diversity of usages of man and woman. I pointed to one explicit one. For example, people use it biologically, which was one of my first things I said.
Talking about sociology.
I also said they use it in a series of social and colloquial ways, one of which is referring to people as men and women on the basis of their exposed and acting attributes in relation to femininity and masculinity in their society. So we all agreed that is a way some people use it.
Yeah, it is a way that some people use it.
Yeah, exactly. That's my only point. If it is a way some people use it, and I
don't disagree that people use it in that way. I'm just saying to you that I don't agree with it because there's a view that I have.
I'm saying you have absolutely no reason to disagree with it.
Yes, I do have a reason to disagree with other perspectives. I don't have a reason to disagree with yours beyond the fact that it is very absurd. That's all I'm saying.
Do you have a reason to not accept my perspective?
Pardon?
So the issue here is we have two perspectives.
The reason
I've justified mine, and you said you have no reason to reject it. So what's your reason to not accept it?
No, hold on. The reason I don't accept it is because I don't believe in gender dualism. I don't think persons can be both men and women at the same time.
But you've given no warrant for that.
Yeah, because women and men are biologically based in sex, and people use the word woman to refer to sex.
And people also use the word woman to refer to a sociological construction.
Yeah, and I'm saying,
Edna, I think we've hit at the point, which is
I'm saying that the sociological perspective does not aligns more with gender dualism, and I don't agree with gender dualism. I don't believe that persons can be both men and women at the same time.
You provided no reason to not believe that. That's not a reason to not believe it. That's circular. You're saying I reject your position because it concludes this, and I disagree with the conclusion. Therefore, I reject your position. That's a circular rejection.
That's not a circular rejection. No, you're just repeating it twice. I only need to say that once. I don't agree with it because it's not in alignment with my position. My position is based in sex.
But you've given no reason to base your position in sex.
You're just reasserting your assertion.
You're just saying I disagree with the conclusion.
I do have a reason to base it in sex. The reason that it's based in sex is because it provides clear categorization that is species specific for the organisms and provides better linguistic utility as far as specifying the sex, the organism, and the species. Right? The organism, the age, and the species. Right? Using it in any other way is, under my view at least, very restrictive and sexist, and I don't.
So you're suggesting. So that's actually a warrant. Just to be clear, that's a warrant.
But did I not say? But Will, did I not say that it was sexist from the very beginning?
So sexist. I pointed this out.
If you agree that if it's a hold on. If you agree that
the linguistic clarity is a warrant.
Will hold
Sexism is a.
Will hold on. If I talk about the linguistic clarity, and I stated this before, and I explained I think I clarified the linguistic clarity before, but if
I never heard linguistic clarity before.
I did say that in the beginning, but yet again, I think you're having a problem listening to me.
I don't think you did point out linguistic clarity.
I did, but okay. I did say that, so I did give a warrant. So I've warranted why I don't agree. You have already stipulated your position, and I'm saying I don't have a critique.
I don't think you actually believe. Just to be clear,
I don't critique. Well,
linguistic clarity, certainly not in those
can you
words.
please stop? I already gave my warrant. You agree that I've given a warrant. Now you have given your. I don't have a critique for your position, so we can agree to disagree. There's no point. There's no point in the conversation.
Look, if there's no point in the conversation, you can leave, or like, who's gonna kick me, whatever. Like the point is here, Edna.
Well,
sorry,
I appreciate it.
But hold on. I'm sorry. I just want to clarify. This is why I feel you're being a little bit difficult. People in chat, have I not been saying this for the last 20 minutes?
I don't think you ever said linguistic clarity by name.
He did. Well,
I
in
spoke about
good
it
faith,
from-
in good faith, he did.
I did from the beginning.
Okay, to be fair, maybe my memory's fucked. Can I'll respond directly, and then you're both just annoyed with me.
I've been
But
saying this from
to address the issue.
Well, honestly, we can continue this conversation another time. It's 2:30 Eastern. I gotta get a little bit of sleep.
That's fine. I'll address this directly then. I addressed the sexism point in exactly the same way I would address the linguistic clarity point then, very early in this, which is that is a very different claim than saying we should change the language to be such and such.
No, Zydia, we'll do
We
one more.
should only understand gender to include sex, or we should only understand woman to refer to sex, is a very different claim than saying woman is not referring to anything other than sex.
No, what
There
we're
is a
saying,
difference between those
No.
claims. And if
But
your
I
claim
said-
is
but I
we
can't-
should understand woman as only biological, because that understanding helps us be more linguistically clear,
I
that is
stated
a normative claim.
No, but I stated that in addition to the other statement. So this is the problem. You're not really listening again. I already stated that in the beginning. I already explained this, and then I also said that there are also there are points surrounding sexism for this. But if you want, I'll clarify the statement again. All I'm saying is that when I say woman is not a social construct, I'm saying that I've already given you the linguistic clarity justification, the warrant, right? Therefore,
And I showed the discontinuity between the warrant and the conclusion.
No, you didn't.
It does not follow from something being linguistically clear that it is true. We have a non-linguistically clear language. It does not, just to be clear, like an is does not follow from an ought. It's like it's the most basic classical logical fallacy.
So you would rather us say that the word woman should not refer than saying that it doesn't. So you're saying that the word...
This was the point I made at the very beginning. We
dude.
should not refer. We
Got
should
nowhere.
not refer. Yes, this was. I'm
No,
sorry.
but- no,
just
but-
to be clear,
but hold on.
surely both of you remember me saying this, right?
No, hold on, 1 second.
I explicitly said you should make a should statement. If that's your point.
Hold on. Oh my God. No, we agreed with both of the statements because one is saying that it isn't a social construct under our view, right? However, right, we could get into a further discussion.
Can I just ask directly? Do you remember me saying explicitly?
I do remember you saying that, but it was
Okay.
it was away from the it was away from the point that I was trying to make. So okay, so then I could also say as well, and I do agree with that statement that I agree with both statements. I agree that it isn't a social construct under my view, at least, but I also so I can say and I also agree that it shouldn't be used in the sociocultural context because of the arising issues like sexism, so on and so forth.
I think your is critique boils down to the ought. I think that's my issue. I'm engaged. The is critique, the is, that which is what this statement is, right? How is it? What is woman referring to? From how I see that, when we say this word refers to this thing, we go look out in society and go, this is what it's referring to. Right,
So, well,
and this is how people are using it. But
that's not how we understood when we use the word is, which is where the disagreement was.
Yes.
When we say is, we were talking about the way that it is used under our view, not the way that it is used by every person in existing society. And that's
Okay,
what the disagreement
and my
was.
issue
So
with
if
warrant was you gave no warrant for that differential linguistic theory.
but I just
Initially.
but I did.
Is that like the sexism and linguistic clarity?
Yeah, the sexism.
But those are normative claims. Are you suggesting the best way to understand what the current language is what is best, least sexist and most linguistically clear?
in the context of gender, because the sexism will also promote incoherency and the stereotyping that we were talking about, and we also explored how the sexism and the stereotyping involve a lot of oversimplification. So I would argue yes.
But
right?
what if, Edna, as a matter of fact, our language is sexist and incoherent?
All right, so I'm saying that if it
That's
is,
my
then-
conclusion.
Okay, great. So hold on. So if we agree there, then all I would need to say then, according to you, which I guess I would now agree with, is that well, now the language should be reformulated to accommodate it. Okay, then we agree.
And there we are.
Okay.
This is the point I made at the very, very beginning. And by the way, can I note just as a final point? By and large, the argumentation that queer theorists make, which is female should be separated from woman, right? Queer theorists say we have a sociological construction, we should put that in woman, and we have a biological construction, which is female. This was the point I made at like the very beginning, and also my understanding of the vast majority of queer theorists. Cool.
All right. Hey, Will, appreciate you coming up, man.
Peace.
See ya. Nate.
I still believe it was a time waste, though. But,
What?
I still believe it was a time waste in debate.
It was absolutely. I mean, that's
Because I'm pretty sure I did say that from the beginning. He just wasn't listening to me.
Yeah,
I already agreed with the should statement and the is statement, but he wasn't listening. So, but that's fine.
you did. But I mean, conversation was had. Guys, I appreciate all the likes.